Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. Talane, Tiffany. Sawubona. Sawubona. Okay, y'all. Trying to get YouTube open. Let's see. Yeah, it's been getting good. It's been getting good today, y'all. Hold on. Let me get them started first before I tell y'all what it's gonna be about. Yay, Tiffany! Look, I got some more colors came in. I got this whole it's a hanger for all my scarves, and I got some more that came in yesterday. The day I told you the link, I went in and ordered me some more. Right? I got this thing about head scarves. Although y'all may only see just a couple of them. Hold on. Okay. It always do a snapshot of me before I go live on YouTube. Okay, I had to make sure it was good. Okay, although y'all only see like a few of them, I have a whole bunch of them. It's this hanger it's like a hanger, but it has little circles on it. And it can hold a bunch of scarves. That thing is full of scarves. I was like, I really need to change these out. I've been trying to match as much as possible. But that thing is heavy too. It's like, I promise you, I want to say it's at least, it might be more than that. It's at least 50. They're all different colors. I got some ones with multicolors and everything. But some of them, I really ain't got nothing to match with it, So I was like, I probably need to go shopping for different shirts when I do my morning videos, and just wear some of these other different colors. I really like them. Every time I see them, Tiffany, I just get them. Good morning, YouTube. We are live. Okay, we live over here now, y'all. Okay. All right, y'all. Yeah, whole chest. Probably about 50 of them. Okay, yeah. Sorry, YouTube. We was talking about scarves and head wraps while we was trying to bring y'all on live today. Okay, let me go to my place here. The same obsession, yes. Look, let me tell you. I have this obsession, although you haven't seen it yet, I have this obsession with earrings because I was like, okay, the head wraps, now I got to find the matching earrings and stuff too. I got like this big, it's like caboodle boxes. I know y'all probably ain't heard that word in a long time, but it's like a big box. It almost look like a small tool chest, but it's not. It's like a women's like makeup box, but it's not a makeup box. It holds, it's like a mirror and stuff, but it holds all my earrings. That joke is probably like this and like that. And it's full of earrings. Although y'all don't see half of them. I got some big feather earrings and stuff. I'm calculating in my mind how these gonna look. But I didn't want to be like too flashy while I'm doing my morning videos. I'm like, so I was like, okay. But I'm gonna start wearing some of them. I kind of just like recycle some of the same ones. Trying to look conservative while I'm reading and stuff. But I don't know. May bring a little bit more color, to the morning videos, so. But yeah, Trina, hey girl, hey. Okay, y'all. Let me minimize this so I can see this screen. Okay, y'all. We're talking about head wraps and earrings. Okay. All right, y'all. Today, hold on. Make sure I have my day right. All right, y'all. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. I'm gonna do it, Tiffany, but I'm gonna have to look at them like the day before. I just need to make sure it's going to be appropriate for the morning videos. Okay, so today, y'all, it is Thursday, December the 3rd, 2020. It is day 14 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, it is day 684. All right, y'all, today we're reading Genesis 40, 41, and 42. And the companion reading today is Jasher 44 and 46. We're going to skip 45 because 45 kind of, it didn't backtrack. because Jasher is just formed. But we already read about Tamar yesterday. Remember, Judah slept with her. He didn't realize it was her. And she was pissed with him because he didn't keep his promise. So as a token of his promise to, what was it? He said he was going to give her a goat for sleeping with him or whatever. She said, okay, what you going to give me, so I know that you're going to keep your promise. He said, well, what you want? So she took his walking stick. She was like, give me the walking stick, walking stick. So she took his walking stick, his, and it was a ring, and I believe it was a tassel or something like that. But he did try and keep his promise, but they couldn't find her because they thought she was a harlot. So he went back to take the goat. They said, we don't have any harlots here, no shrine prostitutes here. But then they found out Tamar was pregnant, and Judah himself said, bring her out here. She deserves death. But before she went out there, take this message to Judah. I am pregnant by the man who these things belong. And she gave them 3 things and sent it, and Judah immediately recognized, oh snap, and he realized what he had done. He realized the shrine prostitute had actually been his daughter-in-law that he slept with. She kept her face veiled, and so he immediately knew why it had happened, and it reminded him of the promise he made to her that he did not keep because he thought his youngest son, Shelah, would die because 2 of his previous sons had died when they were married to her, and he didn't want to give up Shelah. So that's what 45 is about. I'll post it down there if you want to go and read that in detail, what it says in Jasher. It's almost the same. Not too many more details, but there are a few. But for the sake of time, we're skipping 45. That's why I just kind of gave you a big overview of it really quick. So we're going to do Jasher 44 and skip to 46. And today we're talking about the butler, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Okay, y'all. Genesis chapter 40. Sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these 2 officials, and he put them in prison where Joseph was, in the place of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed they both looked upset. Why do you look so worried today? He asked them, and they replied, we both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean. Interpreting dreams is Yahuwah's business, Joseph replied. Go ahead and tell me your dreams. So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream first. In my dream, he said, I saw a grapevine in front of me. The vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, and soon it produced clusters of ripe grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand, so I took a cluster of grapes and squeezed the juice into the cup. Then I placed the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And this is what the dream means. Joseph said, the 3 branches represent 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift you up and restore you to your position as his chief cupbearer. And please, remember me and do me a favor when things go well for you. Mention me to Pharaoh so he might let me out of this place. For I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews, and now I'm here in prison, but I did nothing to deserve it. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given the first dream such a positive interpretation, he said to Joseph, I had a dream too. In my dream, there were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them from the basket on my head. This is what the dream means, Joseph told him. The 3 baskets also represent 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole. Then birds will come and peck away at your flesh. Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, and he prepared a banquet for all his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and baker to join the other officials. He then restored the chief cupbearer to his former position so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh impaled the chief baker just as Joseph had predicted when he interpreted his dream. Pharaoh's cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. All right, Genesis chapter 41. 2 full years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing on the bank of the river Nile. In his dream, he saw 7 fat, healthy cows come up out of the river and begin grazing in the marsh grass. Then he saw 7 more cows come up behind them from the Nile, but these were scrawny and thin. These cows stood beside the fat cows on the riverbank. Then the scrawny, thin cows ate the 7 healthy, fat cows. At this point in the dream, Pharaoh woke up. But he fell asleep again and had a second dream. This time he saw 7 heads of grain, plump and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were shriveled and withered by the east wind. And these thin heads swallowed up the 7 plump, well-formed heads. Then Pharaoh woke up again and realized it was a dream. Also, something about this particular portion right here, I realized that all of this stuff that's happening is also talked about in the Book of Enoch for towards the end. I don't remember what chapter it starts at, but I would definitely recommend you guys go in there. Let me just make myself. I'll put it in here. We're not going to read it today, simply because it's long, because it goes through all the detail. But I'll put this in here. We'll read it at some point, but definitely not today's. Same story. Let me put this in here. Same story. So even Enoch, because Yahuwah had showed him everything that was going to happen all the way through time, he said all the way up until the day of judgment. We know we haven't gotten to judgment day yet, but he saw everything. So like I said, I'll put that in there for y'all to read later at your own leisure. All right. The next morning, Pharaoh was very disturbed by the dreams. So he called for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. When Pharaoh told them his dreams, not one of them could tell him what they meant. Finally, the king's chief cupbearer spoke up. Today I have been reminded of my failure, he told Pharaoh. Some time ago, you were angry with the chief baker and me and imprisoned us in the palace of the captain of the guard. One night, the chief baker and I had a dream. Each dream had its own meaning. There was a young Hebrew man with us in prison who was a slave of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he told us what each of our dreams meant. And everything happened just as he had predicted. I was restored to my position as cupbearer, and the chief baker was executed and impaled on a pole. Pharaoh sent for Joseph at once, and he was quickly brought from the prison. After he shaved and changed his clothes, he went in and stood before Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream last night, and no one here can tell me what it means. But I have heard that when you hear about a dream, you can interpret it. It is beyond my power to do this, Joseph replied, but Yahuwah can tell you what it means and set you at ease. So Pharaoh told Joseph his dream. In my dream, he said, I was standing on the bank of the Nile River, and I saw 7 fat, healthy cows come up out of the river and begin grazing in the marsh grass. Then I saw 7 sick-looking cows, scrawny and thin, come up after them. I've never seen such sorry-looking animals in all the land of Egypt. These thin, scrawny cows ate the 7 fat cows. But afterward, you wouldn't have known it, for they were still as thin and scrawny as before. Then I woke up. In my dream, I also saw 7 heads of grain, full and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were blighted, shriveled, and withered by the east wind. And the shriveled heads swallowed the 7 healthy heads. I told these dreams to the musicians, but no one could tell me what they meant. Joseph responded, both of Pharaoh's dreams mean the same thing. Yahuwah is telling Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. The 7 healthy cows and 7 healthy heads of grain both represent 7 years of prosperity. The 7 thin, scrawny cows that come up later and the 7 thin heads of grain withered by the east wind represent 7 years of famine. This will happen just as I have described it, for Yahuwah has revealed to Pharaoh in advance what he is about to do. The next 7 years will be a period of great prosperity throughout the land of Egypt, but afterward there will be 7 years of famine, so great that all prosperity will be forgotten in Egypt. Famine will destroy the land. This famine will be so severe that even the memory of the good years will be erased. As for having 2 similar dreams, it means that these events have been decreed by Yahuwah, and he will soon make them happen. Therefore, Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man and put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. Have them gather all the food produced in the good years that are just ahead and bring it to Pharaoh's storehouses. Store it away and guard it so there will be food in the cities. That way there will be enough to eat when the 7 years of famine come to destroy the land of Egypt. Otherwise, this famine will destroy the land. Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, "Can we find anyone like this? Can we find anyone else like this man so obviously filled with the spirit of Yah?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since Yahuwah has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or as wise as you are. You will be in charge. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours." Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in fine clothing and hung a gold chain around his neck. Pause. And let me just point out, good morning, peace and blessings, Aliyah. Have y'all noticed the progression of Joseph's growth and rulership? First, he was ruling over Pharaoh's house for a period of time. Then he threw him into dire circumstances to rule now over the prison. He went from the prison to the prison guard or ruler, or the one who's in charge of all of this. Now, Yahuwah has elevated him once more. Now, from ruling over the prison, now to being the ruler of the entire land of Egypt. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Y'all knew that, but I just wanted to point it out for maybe someone that didn't know or hadn't been paying attention. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in fine linen clothing and hung a gold chain around his neck. Then he had Joseph ride in the chariot reserved for his second in command. And whenever Joseph went, the command was shouted, "Kneel down." So Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to him, "I am Pharaoh, but no one will lift a hand or foot in the entire land of Egypt without your approval." Then Pharaoh gave Joseph a new Egyptian name, Zephanath-Paneah. He also gave him a wife whose name was Asenath. She was the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. So Joseph took charge of the entire land of Egypt. He was 30 years old when he began serving in the court of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And when Joseph left Pharaoh's presence, he inspected the entire land of Egypt. As predicted, for 7 years, the land produced bumper crops. During those years, Joseph gathered all the crops grown in Egypt and stored the grain from the surrounding fields and cities. He piled up huge amounts of grain like sand on the seashore. Finally, he stopped keeping records because there was too much to measure. During this time, before the first of the famine years, 2 sons were born to Joseph and his wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. Joseph named his older son Manasseh, for he said, "Yahuwah has made me forget all my troubles and everyone in my father's family." Joseph named his second son Ephraim, for he said, "Yahuwah has made me fruitful in this land of my grief." At the last 7 years of bumper crops throughout the land, Egypt. I'm reading that. Hold on. The last 7 years of bumper crops throughout the land of Egypt. That just reads weird. Okay. At last, they should have had a comma here. That's why I'm messing it up. At last, the 7 years of bumper crops throughout the land of Egypt came to an end. The first 2 words threw me off without the comma. I'm sorry. And then the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had predicted. The famine also struck all the surrounding cities, but throughout the land of Egypt, there was plenty of food. Eventually, however, the famine spread throughout the land of Egypt as well. And when the people cried out to Pharaoh for food, he told them, "Go to Joseph and do whatever he tells you." So with severe famine everywhere, Joseph opened up the storehouses and distributed the grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout the land of Egypt. And the people from all around came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe throughout the world. All right, y'all. Genesis 42, then we're going to go ahead and hop over to Jasher 44. When Jacob heard that grain was available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you standing around looking at one another? I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy enough grain to keep us alive. Otherwise, we'll die." So Joseph's 10 older brothers went down to Egypt to buy grain, but Jacob wouldn't let Joseph's younger brother Benjamin go with them for fear some harm might come to him. So Jacob's sons arrived in Egypt along with the others to buy food, for the famine was in Canaan as well. Since Joseph was governor of all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all people, it was to him that his brothers came. When they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground. Let me say something as well. Let me stop. Remember, I'm at verse 7. Okay. We clearly know all of this is orchestrated by Yah, right? So at times I would wonder, you ever wonder how, okay, well, Yah, I know you speak to me. Why didn't you tell me about this? Or did you tell me and maybe I wasn't listening? You know, we all have those thoughts sometimes where, okay, did I miss instruction from you somewhere? How could this happen? And I thought about this same thing with this famine. Okay, we clearly know Jacob, his father, hears from Yah, right? And it was like, why didn't you tell him ahead of time what was about to happen to his son? And then with Yah revealing his dream to Pharaoh, why didn't you let Jacob and them know that it was coming so they could also begin to store up? Clearly, they were your chosen. We know Joseph is your chosen too. But why didn't you let them know? Then I just paused and began to think about everything. Remember how everything works together. So Yahuwah did not tell Jacob. I mean, he could have. It doesn't tell us that he did, because I'm sure if Yahuwah had told Jacob, he would probably have begun to store up in the land where they're at, even in Canaan or whatever, and he would have listened, right? You know, but I'm almost sure he purposely didn't in order to reunite the brothers, right? And to get all of the posterity of Jacob out from where they were at, to get them into the land of Egypt for a period of time. Okay, that was just my thoughts, y'all. I just wanted to say that, right? So sometimes Yahuwah purposely doesn't reveal some things to us because he's going to reveal it to us later, you know, and we'll see later how all these things will work together, because sometimes we're just not able to take in the information that he could reveal to us now. Some of us are just not ready for some of the information, not until later, to where we can see, oh, I see how this worked in our favor, you know? So I just wanted to bring that out. If you guys ever wondered about some things, you know, Yahuwah knows all. He knows the end from the beginning, you know? So some things where it may seem, did you hear me? Why is this happening? First of all, run a check through your life. Consider your ways. Okay, have we sinned somewhere? When you realize that's not, okay, Yahuwah must be working behind the scenes for some other thing. You know, we're going to be patient and we're going to continue to trust him for whatever that is. But we know whatever it is for our good in the end. So we're going to be patient and we're going to trust y'all. Okay, I just wanted to say that, y'all. Okay, since Joseph was governor of all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers came. When they arrived, they bowed down before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers instantly, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where are you from?" he demanded. "From the land of Canaan," they replied. "We've come to buy food." Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they didn't recognize him, and he remembered the dreams he had about them many years before. He said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." "No, my lord," they exclaimed. "Your servants have simply come to buy food. We are all brothers, members of the same family. We are honest men, sir. We are not spies." "Yes, you are," Joseph insisted. "You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." "Sir," they said, there are actually 12 of us. We, your servants, are all brothers, the sons of a man living in the land of Canaan. Our youngest brother is back there with our father now, and one of our brothers is no longer with us." But Joseph insisted, "As I said, you are spies. This is how I will test your story. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that you will never leave Egypt unless your youngest brother comes here. One of you must go and get your brother. I'll keep the rest of you here in prison. Then we'll find out whether or not your story is true. By the life of Pharaoh, if it turns out that you don't have a younger brother, then I'll know that you are spies. So Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, I am a God-fearing man. If you do as I say, you will live. If you are really honest men, choose one of your brothers to remain in prison. The rest of you may go home with grain for your starving families. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. This will prove that you are telling the truth, and you will not die. To this they agreed. Speaking among themselves, they said, clearly, we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his anguish, and he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. This is why we're in trouble. Now, we would not have known. Listen to what they just said. It says in here, we saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. That's why we're in this trouble. Remember, reading in Genesis, we didn't see that part. They didn't put that part in. We only found that out when we went to Jasher and read in Jasher where it told us Joseph was constantly crying out to his brothers and asking them to pull him out of the pit, right? All right, so I want to bring out points to you to show you where the books, they go together and they jive, because some people's like they still believe that it's only this book that we should be reading. Remember, it wasn't this book that Yahuwah gave us. You remember the early church fathers during the time of Constantine, they were the ones who decided to take letters and scrolls and combine them into one book. They canonized them, and they picked and chose what they wanted to put in there, and everything they didn't put in there. And they say, oh, this is only the inspired word of God or the inspired word of Yah. That's not true. That's not true. What they have in here was taken from the full manuscripts and full scrolls, and what we have here is a summary of everything that happened through the period of time, and everything that happened, you can't even fit it into this tiny book, but it's enough to get anybody back to Yah who is truly searching for him, so. But as you grow and you read, you'll realize something is missing here. We don't see the full story, but you won't realize that unless you are constantly reading it and trying to put the pieces together. I mean, just read it. Like I said, people who are starting over, who come out of the indoctrination of the church, just start over at the beginning. Just read it through. Take everything that you've learned. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just take what you've learned, set it on the shelf for a second, and start reading over, and let Yah teach you everything from the beginning. And as you do that, when you're listening to nobody else's voice except for Yah, then he begins to open your eyes to things that have been sitting right there in plain sight the entire time. And that's how we realize, wait a minute, something is missing. This is not adding up. And then you realize, wait a minute, there's other scrolls, there's other books. They used to have the Apocrypha in here, then they took it out. Why did they do that? Even just with the Apocrypha, there is so much information inside the Apocrypha that would even help fill in the stories of what we have now, like I always say. But even when you read the Apocrypha, you realize there's still more books missing. And even the Bible references books in different places that have not been canonized along with this. So you start thinking and you start going looking for some of these books. And even in the books of the prophets in Isaiah and Jeremiah, they talk about the prophet Edo and all these other ones. Okay, what about Edo? Where is Edo at? So start going looking for those scrolls, and Yahuwah reveals more to us as we grow, But it's a process of learning and a process of detoxification. All right. Speaking among themselves, they said, clearly, we're being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. That's why we're in this trouble. Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? Reuben asked, but you wouldn't listen. And now we have to answer for his blood. Of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood them, for he had been speaking to them through an interpreter. Now he turned away from them and began to weep. When he regained his composure, he spoke to them again. Then he chose Simeon from among them and had him tied up right before their eyes. Then Joseph ordered his servants to fill the men's sacks with grain, but he also gave secret instructions to return each brother's payment at the top of his sack. He also gave them supplies for their journey home. So the brothers loaded their donkeys with the grain and headed for home. But when they stopped in the night, and one of them opened his sack to get grain for his donkey, he found his money in the top of his sack. "Look," he exclaimed to his brothers, "my money has been returned. It's here in my sack." Their hearts sank. Trembling, they said to each other, "What has Yah done to us?" When the brothers came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him everything that had happened to them. "The man who was governor of the land spoke very harshly to us," they told him. "He accused us of being spies, scouting out the land. But we said we are honest men, not spies. We are 12 brothers, son of one father. One brother is no longer with us, and the youngest is at home with our father in the land of Canaan. This man who was governor of the land told us, 'This is how I will find out if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me and take grain for your starving families and go on home. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. Then I will know you are honest men and not spies. Then I will give you back your brother, and you may freely trade in the land.' As they emptied out their sacks, there in each man's sack was the bag of money he had paid for the grain. The brothers and their father were terrified when they saw the bags of money. Jacob exclaimed, 'You are robbing me of my children. Joseph is gone. Simeon is gone. And now you want to take Benjamin too? Everything is going against me.' Then Reuben said to his father, 'You may kill my 2 sons if I don't bring Benjamin back to you. I'll be responsible for him, and I promise to bring him back.'" First of all, how you going to offer up your children, bro? Why not offer your own life? I'm like, sometimes I think about some of the things they say. I'm like, and if I would have been sitting right there listening to this, we would have been like, "Wait, what did he just say? Hold on. Do we have any kind of say in this?" But, I'm going to keep reading. Then Reuben said to his father, "You may kill my 2 sons if I don't bring Benjamin back to you. I'll be responsible for him, and I promise to bring him back." But Jacob replied, "My son will not go down with you. His brother Joseph is dead, and he is all I have left. If anything should happen to him on your journey, you would send this grieving, white-haired man to his grave." Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and hop right on over here to Jasher 44. Okay, so when we start in Jasher 44, it's going to backtrack just a little bit, but it's with the reading today. And it's going to give us some detail about Pharaoh's scandalous wife and what she did to Joseph. So it's gonna give a lot of details on how she was hard up for this man. I'm telling y'all. Okay. 44. So after we read that, it's gonna go right. We're gonna go right into 46, where we get some more details of the butler and the baker. Okay, Jasher chapter 44. Okay, Jasher 44. And the sons of Ishmael had bought Joseph from Midian, who had bought him from his brethren, went to Mitzrayim, went to Egypt with Joseph, and they came upon the borders of Egypt, and they came near unto Egypt. They met 4 men, the sons of Midian, the sons of Abraham, who had gone forth from the land of Egypt on their journey. And the Ishmaelites said unto them, "Do you desire to purchase this slave from us?" And they said, "Deliver him over to us." And they delivered Joseph over to them. And they beheld him that he was a very comely youth, and they purchased him for 20 shekels. And the Ishmaelites continued on their journey to Egypt, and the Midianites also returned that day to Egypt. And the Midianites said to each other, "Behold, we have heard that Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, seeks a good servant who shall stand before him to attend him, and to make him an overseer over his house and all belonging to him. Now therefore let us come sell him to him for what we may desire, if he be able to give unto us that which we shall require for him." And these Midianites went and came to the house of Potiphar, and said unto him, "We have heard that you seek a good servant to attend you. Behold, we have a servant that will please you. If you can give unto us which we may desire, we will sell him to you." And Potiphar said, "Bring him before me, and I will see him. And if he pleases me, I will give unto you that which you may require for him." And the Midianites went and bought Joseph and placed him before Potiphar. And he saw him, and he pleased him exceedingly. And Potiphar said unto them, Tell me what you require for this youth. And they said, 400 pieces of silver we desire for him. And Potiphar said, I will give it to you if you bring me the record of his sale, to you, and tell me his history, for perhaps he may be stolen. For this youth is neither a slave nor the son of a slave, but I observe in him the appearance of a goodly and a handsome person. And the Midianites went and brought unto him the Ishmaelites who had sold him to them, and they told him, saying, He is a slave, and we sold him to them. And Potiphar heard the words of the Ishmaelites, and his giving the silver unto the Midianites. And the Midianites took the silver and went on their journey, and the Ishmaelites also returned home. And Potiphar took Joseph and brought him to his house that he might serve him. And Joseph found favor in the sight of Potiphar, and he placed confidence in him and made him overseer of his house, and all that belonged to him he delivered over into his hand. And Yahuwah was with Joseph, and he became a prosperous man, and Yahuwah blessed the house of Potiphar for the sake of Joseph. And Potiphar left all that he had in the hand of Joseph, and Joseph was one that caused things to come in and go out, and everything was regulated by his wish in the house of Potiphar. And Joseph was 18 years old, a youth with beautiful eyes and of comely appearance, and like unto him was not in the whole of the land of Egypt. At that time, while he was in his master's house, going in and out of the house, attending to his master, Zelicah, his master's woman, lifted up her eyes towards Joseph, and she looked at him, and behold, he was a youth comely and well favored, and she coveted his beauty in her heart, and her soul was fixed upon Joseph, and she enticed him day after day. And Zelicah persuaded Joseph daily, but Joseph did not lift up his eyes to behold his master's woman. And Zelicah said unto him, How goodly are your appearance and form! Truly I have looked at all the slaves, and have not seen so beautiful a slave as you are. And Joseph said unto her, Surely he who created me in my mother's womb created all mankind. And she said unto him, How beautiful are your eyes, with which you have dazzled all the inhabitants of Egypt, men and women. And he said unto her, How beautiful they are while we are alive. But should you behold them in Sheol, surely you would move away from them. Remember, Sheol, you will hear it in some versions, Sheol is hell, but also remember, hell is not like fire burning as it's taught. When it's talking about Sheol here, it's talking about hell or the grave, right? So Sheol, hell, and the grave is the same thing when we read it about it in the context coming from the Old Testament. So when you see it there, it means the grave, 6 feet deep, or you're sleeping with the fathers. You're no longer in your fleshly form here on the earth. You're dead, D-E-A-D. All right, so remember that, just in case you didn't know. I'll read that again. How beautiful they are while we are alive, but should you behold them in Sheol, surely you would move away from them. And she said unto him, How beautiful and pleasing are all your words. Take now, I pray you, the harp which is in the house, and play with your hands, and let us hear your words. And he said unto her, How beautiful and pleasing are my words when I speak the praise of my God and his glory. And she said unto him, How very beautiful is the hair of your head. Behold, the golden comb which is in the house. Take it, I pray you, and curl the hair of your head. And he said unto her, How long will you speak these words? Cease to utter these words to me, and rise and attend to your domestic affairs. He's like, Woman, get out of here. Go. Your husband know you in here. Like, every time she complimented him, he took that compliment and pushed it right to Yah, and he everything he deflected from her, and he got sick of it. He like, Look, woman, get out of here. Don't you got business? Go attend to your daily affairs. Okay. I'll read it again. And he said unto her, How long will you speak these words? Cease to utter these words to me, and rise and attend to your domestic affairs. Truly funny. And she said unto him, There is no one in my house, and there is nothing to attend to but to your words and to your wish. Yet withstanding all this, she could not bring Joseph unto her. Neither did he place his eye on her, but directed his eyes below the ground. Now, let me tell you something. Joseph That was a good thing he did, because the way we are made, men, they're attracted by what they see. Women too, but Joseph knew that, so it said that he would not look at her, because Potiphar's wife, she was beautiful, but Joseph knew, and he did not look at her. Otherwise, he could have been taken, not just by her words, but her words and the sight of her beauty and her form would probably have taken him in, and he knew that. So that's why he did not look at her, and our people, especially a lot of our men, they would keep themselves, they would keep their lives a lot of time, and they'll keep their affairs in good order and things going good for them if they would learn just that. If they learned just that one thing that Joseph practiced: do not lay your eyes on that woman, because that's the first step. And she was also married. Sis was ready to turn up with Joseph, and so but he knew that, and plus Joseph feared Yah, so he said, I cannot do this thing and sin against Yah. He didn't even say against her husband. He said sin against Yah. Clearly he would be sinning against her husband, himself, her, and Yah, but he feared Yah the most. So neither did he place his eye upon her, but directed his eyes below to the ground. And Zelicah desired Joseph in her heart that he should lie with her. And at that time that Joseph was sitting in the house doing his work, Zelicah came and sat before him, and she enticed him daily with her discourse to lie with her, or even to look at her. But Joseph would not hearken to her. So not only is she beautiful and she giving sweet words, but she's giving him the invitation and let him know all is well. Ain't nobody here. Ain't nobody gonna find out. Man. And she said unto him, if you will not do according to my words, I will chastise you with the punishment of death and put an iron yoke upon you. And now she threatened him now, because she can't get her way. And Joseph said unto her, surely Elohim, who created man, looses the fetters of prisoners, and it is he who will deliver me from your prison and from your judgment. And when she could not prevail over him to persuade him, and her soul being still fixed upon him, her desire threw her into a grievous sickness. And all the women of Egypt came to visit her, and they said unto her, why are you in this declining state, you that lack nothing? Surely your man is great and esteemed prince in the sight of the king. Should you lack anything of what your heart desires? And Zelicah answered them, saying, this day it shall be made known to you whence this disorder springs in which you see me. And she commanded her maidservants to prepare food for all the women, and she made a banquet for them, and all the women ate in the house of Zelicah. And she gave them knives to peel the citrons to eat them, and she commanded that they should dress Joseph in costly garments, and that he should appear before them. And Joseph came before their eyes, and all the women looked on Joseph and could not take their eyes from off of him. And they all cut their hands with the knives they had in their hands, and all the citrons that were in their hands were filled with blood. I'm like, I ain't gonna make a comment. And they knew not what they had done, but they continued to look at the beauty of Joseph and did not turn their eyelids from him. Okay, I'll make a comment. I guess this can be likened to, how you see on movies, and not just in movies, but I say it because you all know what I'm talking about. You know how you watching a movie and a beautiful woman will be walking down the street, and they'll cut to a scene where a man driving his car and he gets sidetracked by her beauty. Next thing you know, he done crashed into a pole or something. It's like the same thing with what these women were doing when they saw how beautiful he was. And women know, y'all know how some women get when they see a handsome man in beautiful in form and everything walk into the room. It's like the world stops and everybody, and it's like their gaze is fixed upon him, and all these type of thoughts begin running through their heads. This is what's happening right now. And Zelicah saw what they had done, and she said unto them, what is this work that you have done? Behold, I gave you citrons to eat, and all of you have cut your hands. And all the women saw their hands, and behold, they were full of blood, and their blood flowed down upon their garments. And they said unto her, this slave in your house has overcome us, and we could not turn our eyelids from him on the account of his beauty. And she said unto him, surely this happened to you in the moment that you looked at him, and you could not contain yourselves from him. How then can I refrain when he is constantly in my house, and I see him day after day going in and out of my house? How then can I keep from declining or even from perishing on account of this? And they said unto her, the words are true, for who can see this beautiful form in the house and refrain from him? And is he not your slave and attendant in your house? Why do you not tell him that which is in your heart and suffer your soul to perish through this matter? I'm like, sis, and the women that's there, they're like, look, sis, we see what you're talking about. Go ahead. He in your house, he your slave. Why can't you? I'm like, first of all, don't all y'all know that I'm married? Like, these women ain't no help. Yes, Joseph was fine. He was a fine looking specimen. So, and they said unto her, the words are true, for who can see this beautiful form in the house and refrain from him? And is he not your slave and attendant in your house? And why do you not tell him that which is in your heart and suffer your soul to perish through this matter? And she said unto them, I am daily endeavoring to persuade him, and he will not consent to my wishes. And I promised him everything that is good, and yet I could not meet with no return from him. And I am therefore in a declining state, as you see. And Zelicah became very ill on the account of her desire toward Joseph, and she was desperately lovesick on the account of him. And all the people of the house of Zelicah and her man knew nothing of this matter, that Zelicah was ill on the account of her love to Joseph. And all the people of her house asked her, saying, why are you ill and declining, and lack nothing? And she said unto them, I know not this thing which is daily increasing upon me. Leisha said I almost called her a hussy. You should have. She was. Whew. Okay. And all the women and her friends came daily to see her, and they spoke with her. And she said unto them, this can only be through the love of Joseph. And they said unto her, entice him and seize him secretly. Perhaps he may hearken to you and put off this death from you. And Zelicah became worse from her love to Joseph, and she continued to decline till she had scarce strength to stand. I'm like, sis got it bad. I'm like, look, he told you go on about your life, and he didn't even tell your husband, sis, you can keep your life, you can keep your kingdom. Get yourself together, go ahead, get on out of here. Just don't be in the house when he in the house. Or she need to talk to her husband, look, can you put some women slaves or something here to take care of this? Or you need to go out and do something in the field with the maidens in the city or something. And on a certain day, Joseph was doing his master's work in the house. Zelicah came secretly and fell suddenly upon him. And Joseph rose up against her, and he was more powerful than she, and he brought her down to the ground. And Zelicah wept on the account of the desire of her heart toward him, and she supplicated him with weeping, and her tears flowed down her cheeks. And she spoke unto him in a voice of supplication and bitterness of soul, saying, have you ever heard or seen or known of so beautiful a woman as I am, or better than myself, who speak unto you daily, fall into a decline through love for you, confer all this honor upon you, and you still will not hearken to my voice? And if it be through fear of your master, lest he punish you, as the king lives, no harm shall come to you from your master through this thing. Now therefore pray, listen to me, and consent for the sake of the honor which I have conferred upon you, and put off this death from me. Why should I die for your sake? And she ceased to speak. Like, she is begging this man to have sex with her. And what was probably getting her is because it said she was beautiful in form and everything. She had everything. Like, she lacked nothing. And she probably wasn't used to rejection. Like, probably no one had ever rejected her in her life. And that's what made sis sick. And she just can't understand. That's what she's saying. Have you ever seen somebody as beautiful as me in form and everything? I got everything, and I'm offering to give you all these gifts. Yeah, she was just going to try and take it. Joseph was more powerful than her. Even some men that get to that point, when women come in, they actually just try and take it, because there are some forceful, powerful women that will do that. Men will, they're trying to keep their job or whatever. Then they get cornered in the office or something and let it go. They throw themselves on, trying to rip his pants open or whatever. And some men at that point, they no longer have the strength to stand and they just kind of give into it. But even at this point, she about darn near ripping this man's clothes off. And he's like, look, I'm going to run out of here naked if I need to. And that's what happened. Listen. And Joseph answered her, saying, refrain from me and leave this matter to my master. Like, look, stop trying to have sex with me. Go have sex with your man, your husband. Leave this matter to my master. Behold, my master knows not what there is with me in the house, for all that belongs to him he has delivered into my hand. And how shall I do these things in my master's house? For he has also greatly honored me in his house, and he also has made me overseer of his house, and he has exalted me, and there is no one greater in this house than I am. And my master has refrained nothing from me, except you, who are his woman. How then can you speak these words unto me? And how can I do this great evil and sin unto Yahuwah and to your man? Now therefore refrain from me, and speak no more such words as these, for I will not hearken to your words. But Zelicah would not hearken to Joseph when he spoke these words unto her. But she daily enticed him to listen to her. That was a spirit of lust, not love. The evil spirit was trying to defeat Joseph, but he knew the Most High's law that says it's forbidden to lust after someone else's woman. You're right. That's right. And it was after this that the brook of Egypt was filled above all its sides, and all the inhabitants of Egypt went forth, and also the king and princes, and went forth with timbrels and dances, for it was a great rejoicing in Egypt, and holiday at the time of the inundation of the sea, Sincor, and they went there to rejoice all day. And when the Egyptians went out to the river to rejoice, as was their custom, all the people of the house of Potiphar went with them. But Zelicah would not go with them, for she said, I am indisposed. And she remained alone in the house, and no other person was with her in the house. And she rose up and ascended to her temple in the house, and dressed herself in princely garments. And she placed upon her head precious stones of onyx, inlaid with silver and gold. And she beautified her face and skin with all sorts of women's purifying liquids. And she perfumed the temple and the house with cassia and frankincense, and she spread myrrh and aloes. And she afterwards sat in the entrance of the temple, in the passage of the house through which Joseph passed to do his work. And behold, Joseph came from the field and entered into the house to do his master's work. Now, as she was doing this, if y'all are familiar with the book of Proverbs, where it talks about the prostitute or the woman, matter of fact, I want to say, I don't know this for certain, but as I read this again, I'm almost certain that the prostitute that the book of Proverbs was talking about was Potiphar's wife. How it says she is brash. She goes out and she is bold. She said, look, I have made my bed of love and it's ready for you to come lay in it. My master is gone away. He's going to be gone a long time. He took money and we got all night to do what we want to do in here. I prepared my bed. I perfumed the place. I made it nice and beautiful. Come on in. Let's go. Let's enjoy our feel of love tonight. Like, she was ready for Joseph. She was ready. Just no leash. Just no shame. No shame. And he came to the place through which he had to pass, and he saw all the work of Zelicah, and he turned back. He said, oh, nope, not today. And Zelicah saw Joseph turning back from her, and she called out to him, saying, what ails you, Joseph? Come do your work. They need to make a movie about this with all the details. I'm telling you. Like, she pissed now. She said, what ails you, Joseph? Come do your work, and behold, I will make room for you until you have passed to your seat. Like, she said, come on, I ain't gonna mess with you. Go ahead and go on by. But Joseph knew better. Sis, you got all this. You knew your husband was going. No, you did this with me, and you ain't gonna let me pass by. You just gonna wait for me to walk past you, and you gonna pounce on me. Like, she wanted every bit of him. And Joseph returned and came to the house and passed from thence to the place of his seat. And he sat down to do his master's work as usual. And behold, Zelicah came to him and stood before him in princely garments, and the scent from her clothes was spread to a distance. And she hastened and caught hold of Joseph and his garments, and she said unto him, As the king lives, if you will not perform my request, you shall surely die this day. And she hastened and stretched forth her other hand and drew a sword from beneath her garments, and she placed it upon, like, now she gonna try and take take it from him at knife point. Like, at some point, if he would have given it, well, there would be no winning if he had gave it. I ain't gonna say it, y'all. I'm gonna keep my thoughts to myself of how graphic the scene could get. And she hastened and caught hold of Joseph in his garments, and she said unto him, As the king lives, if you would not perform my request, you shall die this day. And she hastened and stretched forth her other hand and drew a sword from beneath her garments, and she placed it upon Joseph's neck, and she said, Rise and perform my request, and if not, you would die this day. And Joseph was afraid of her at her doing this thing, and he rose up to flee from her, and she seized the front of his garments. And in the terror of his flight, the garment which Zelicah seized was torn, and Joseph left the garment in the hand of Zelicah, and he fled and got out, for he was in fear. And when Zelicah saw that Joseph's garment was torn, and that he had left it in her hand, and he had fled, she was afraid of her life, lest the report should spread concerning her. And she rose up and acted with cunning, and put off garments in which she was dressed, and she put on other garments, and she took Joseph's garment, and she laid it beside her, and she went and seated herself in the place where she had sat in her illness. Oh, heifer. I'm saying, boy, this woman. Therefore the people of her house had gone out to the river, and she called a young lad who was then in the house, and she ordered him to call the people of the house to her. And when she had saw them, she said unto them with a loud voice and lamentation, See what a Hebrew your master has brought to me in this house. For he came this day to lie with me. For when you had gone out, he came to the house, and seeing that there was no person in the house, he came unto me and caught hold of me with intent to lie with me. And I seized his garments and tore them, and I called out against him with a loud voice. And when I had lifted up my voice, he was afraid for his life, and left his garment before me and fled. And the people of her house spoke nothing, but their wrath was very much kindled against Joseph. And they went to his master and told him the words of his women. And Potiphar came home enraged, and his woman cried out to him, saying, What is this thing that you have done unto me in bringing a Hebrew servant into my house? For he came unto me this day to sport with me. Thus he did unto me this day. And Potiphar heard the words of his woman, and he ordered Joseph to be punished with severe stripes, and they did so to him. While they were smiting him, Joseph cried out with a loud voice, and he lifted up his eyes to heaven, and he said, O Yahuwah, Elohim, you know that I am innocent of all these things. And why shall I die this day through falsehood by the hand of these uncircumcised wicked men whom you know? And while Potiphar's men were beating Joseph, he continued to cry out and weep. And there was a child there, 11 months old. And listen to this, y'all. I forgot about this part. I'm telling you, Yahuwah can do. Listen, okay. And while Potiphar's men were beating Joseph, he continued to cry out and weep. And there was a child there, 11 months old. And Yahuwah opened the mouth of the child, and he spoke these words before Potiphar's men who were smiting Joseph, saying, What do you want of this man, and why do you do this evil unto him? My mother speaks falsely and utters lies. Thus was the transaction. And the child told them accurately all that had happened, and all the words of Zelicah to Joseph day after day. And oh my gosh. And the child told them accurately all that happened, and all the words of Zelicah to Joseph day after day did he declare unto them. And all the men heard the words of the child, and they wondered greatly at the child's words. And the child ceased to speak and became still. And Potiphar was very much ashamed at the words of his son, and he commanded his men not to beat Joseph anymore, and the men ceased beating Joseph. Think about, I'm gonna just bring it up again. Well, y'all probably know people in real life. Yeah, Trina, she was gonna try and rape him. Imagine in real life, y'all see the shenanigans on between people in real life and also the stuff you see on the movies. And if there's a child that possibly had been present, that one of the parents, yeah, that's what I'm about to say, Tiffany. You know you did wrong when your baby rat you out. Like, he was like, Daddy, look, mama lying. This what happened. And y'all, I see some funny memes about this where the parent trying to get information from the child. No, mama in the room, and then they in the room wrestling. What? She in the room wrestling with who? Her friend? And stuff like that. This is what was happening. Although they didn't ask this child, the spirit of Yah came upon this baby. And he began to speak and tell him what happened. He pretty much said, listen, Daddy, stop beating this man. He innocent. Everything he said was true. Mama's lying. She been trying to sleep with this man ever since she laid eyes on him. She even tried to rape him. She pulled a knife on him. Baby ratting her out. 11 months old and the baby done spoken told. You right, Leisha? Man, okay. And Potiphar was very much ashamed at the words of his son. And he commanded his men not to beat Joseph anymore. And the men ceased beating Joseph. Man, if they ain't put nothing else in the canonized book in Genesis, they should have left the details of this in here. I'm telling you, man. And Potiphar took Joseph and ordered him to be brought to justice before the priests, who were judges belonging to the king, in order to judge him concerning this affair. And Potiphar and Joseph came before the priests, who were the king's judges, and he said unto them, Decide, I pray you, what judgment is due to a servant, for thus he has done. And the priest said unto Joseph, Why did you do this thing to your master? And Joseph answered them, saying, Not so, my lords. Thus was the matter. And Potiphar said unto Joseph, Surely I entrusted in your hands all that belonged to me, and I withheld nothing from you but my woman. How could you do this evil? And Joseph answered, saying, Not so, my lord. As Yahuwah lives, and as your soul lives, my lord, the word which you did hear from your woman is untrue. For thus was the affair this day. A year has elapsed to me since I have been in your house. Have you seen any iniquity in me, or anything which might cause you to demand my life? And the priest said unto Potiphar, Send, we pray you, and let them bring before us Joseph's torn garment, and let us see the tear in it. And if it be that the tear is in front of the garment, then his face must have been opposite to her, and she must have caught hold of him to come to her. With deceit did your woman do all that she has spoken. I'm telling you that the wisdom of Yah is resting on these priests right now to save Joseph's life. Bruh. Okay. And they brought Joseph's garment before the priests, who were judges, and they saw, and behold, the tear was in front of Joseph. And all the priests, and all the judging priests knew that she had pressed him. And they said, The judgment of death is not due to this slave, for he has done nothing. But his judgment is that he be placed in the prison house on account of the report which through him has gone forth against your woman. And Potiphar heard their words, and he placed him in the prison house, the place where the king's prisoners are confined. And Joseph was in the house of confinement 12 years. I would have been like, y'all need to put this heifer in jail. And those are kind words, though. And notwithstanding this, his master's woman did not turn from him, and she did not cease speaking from him day after day to hearken to her. And at the end of 3 months, Zelicah continued going to Joseph to the house of confinement day by day, and she enticed him to hearken to her. And Zelicah said unto Joseph, How long will you remain in this house? But hearken now to my voice. And I'm sorry, I did the wrong voice. It was her. I was thinking it was Joseph talking. It was Zelicah talking to him. How long will you remain in this house? But hearken now to my voice, and I will bring you out of this house. And I'm like, you know what? Cameras, hidden security cameras, should have been invented back then, because she would not have been able to get away with this for as long as she did. I mean, even after this man was thrown in prison, this woman is still going down there to get him to sleep with her. And I'm like, and where are the prison guards? I'm like, guard, call your master. Or I would have told one of the guards, listen, you see when this woman come, listen, when y'all see her come again, I'm going to need you to go in here, find a little hiding place. Matter of fact, let it be 3 of y'all. Let everything be confirmed in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. The Potiphar trust you. Somebody needs to have a paper and a pen. Y'all need to be hiding in the cut. And I need y'all to record this because this heifer won't let me loose. Okay. And Joseph answered her, saying, it is better for me to remain in this house than to hearken to your words, to sin against Yahuwah. That's right, Trina. No, I'll do my time. That's what he just said. It is better for me to remain in this house than to hearken to your words, to sin against Yahuwah. And she said unto him, if you will not perform my wish, I will pluck out your eyes, add fetters to your feet, and deliver you into the hands of them whom you did not know before. And Joseph answered her and said, behold, the God of the whole earth is able to deliver me from all that you can do unto me. For he opens the eyes of the blind and loose those that are bound and preserves all strangers who are unacquainted with the land. Boom. Everything you just said back in your face. And when Zelicah was unable to persuade Joseph to hearken to her, she left off going to entice him. And Joseph was still confined in the house of confinement. And Jacob, the father of Joseph, and all his brothers who were in the land of Canaan, still mourned and wept in those days on account of Joseph. For Jacob refused to be comforted for his son Joseph. And Jacob cried aloud and wept and mourned all those days. He still went to jail. Yeah, he still went to jail after the baby snitched. You know, because I don't know. Let me tell you, Potiphar's woman, even after the baby done told on mama, like you had to, she had Potiphar wrapped around her finger too, because she was able to just keep on going, doing what she was doing in the house. Clearly we know she was still free, because she was still trying to go down there and sleep with this man while he was locked up. I'm like, okay, y'all. Jasher 46. In those days, Joseph was still confined in the prison house in the land of Egypt. At that time, the attendants of Pharaoh who were standing before him, the chief of the butlers and the chief of the bakers, which belonged to the king of Mitzrayim, or remember, Mitzrayim is Egypt. And the butler took wine and placed it before the king to drink, and the baker placed bread before the king to eat. And the king drank of the wine and ate the bread, and he served his servants and ministers that ate at the king's table. And while they were eating and drinking, the butler and the baker remained there, and Pharaoh's ministers found many flies in the wine which the butler had brought, and stones of nitre were found in the baker's bread. And the captain of the guard placed Joseph as an attendant on Pharaoh's officers, and Pharaoh's officers were in confinement 1 year. I was always told it's us females that you have to watch. Shaking my head. You know what? Not all women, but yeah. Some of these sisters y'all need to keep a close eye on some of these sisters, because some of these sisters have been the downfall of many, I'll just say many good men. But they got to a point where the enticement, it became too much for them. And some men, they're just like, you know what, to get you out of my face, I'm going to go ahead and do this and go about my business, you know, because think about it. We know the story. We know stuff that happened, you know, especially if they got a family they got to care for. It's like, I'm going to lose my job, and how can I do this? But you have to be extremely strong. And you only get this extremely strong by staying in the presence of Yah and crying out to him to strengthen you when you are in situations like what Joseph was. Yeah, Alicia said, we all know what we be doing. I'm telling you, like, y'all gotta, man. Let me finish reading this. I'll be talking all day about some of this stuff. Hold on. Let me finish reading. Okay. And the captain of the guard placed Joseph as an attendant on Pharaoh's officers, and Pharaoh's officers were in confinement 1 year. And at the end of the year, they both dreamed dreams in one night in the place of confinement where they were. And in the morning, Joseph came to them to attend upon them as usual. And when he saw them, he beheld their countenances were dejected and sad. And Joseph asked them, why are your countenances sad and dejected this day? And they said unto him, we dreamed a dream, and there is no one to interpret it. And Joseph said unto them, relate, I pray you, your dream unto me, and Yahuwah shall give you an answer of peace as you desire. And the butler related his dream unto Joseph, and he said, I saw in my dream, behold, a large vine was before me, and upon that vine I saw 3 branches, and the vine speedily blossomed and reached a great height, and its clusters were ripened and became grapes. And I took the grapes and pressed them in a cup, and placed it in Pharaoh's hand, and he drank it. And Joseph said unto him, the 3 branches that were upon the vine are 3 days. Yet within 3 days the king will order you to be brought out, and he will restore you to your office, and you shall give the king his wine to drink as at first when you were his butler. But let me find favor in your sight, that you shall remember me to Pharaoh when it be well with you, and do kindness unto me, and get me brought forth from this prison. For I was stolen away from the land of Canaan, and was sold for a slave in this place. And also that which was told you concerning my master's woman is false, for they placed me in this dungeon for naught. And the butler answered Joseph, saying, If the king deal well with me as at the first, as you last interpreted to me, I will do all that you desire, and get you brought out of this dungeon. And the baker, seeing that Joseph had accurately interpreted the butler's dream, also approached and related the whole of his dream to Joseph. And he said unto him, In my dream I saw and beheld 3 white baskets upon my head. And I looked, and behold, there were in the uppermost basket all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh. And behold, the birds were eating them from off my head. And Joseph said unto him, The 3 baskets which you did see are 3 days, yet within 3 days Pharaoh will take off your head and hang you upon a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh from off of you as you saw in your dream, which is also impaled upon a tree, which Genesis says. In those days the queen was about to be delivered, and upon that day she bore a son unto the king of Egypt. And they proclaimed that the king had gotten his firstborn son, and all the people of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, together with the officers and servants of Pharaoh, rejoiced greatly. And upon the 3rd day of his birth, Pharaoh made a feast for his officers and servants, for the host of the land of Sor and the land of Egypt. And all the people of Egypt and the servants of Pharaoh came to eat and drink with the king at the feast of his son, and rejoiced at the king's rejoicing. And all the officers of the king and his servants were rejoicing at that time for 8 days at the feast. And they made merry with all sorts of musical instruments and timbrels, and with dances in the king's house for 8 days. And the butler whom Joseph had interpreted his dream forgot Joseph, and he did not mention him to the king as he promised. For this thing was from Yahuwah, in order to punish Joseph, because he had trusted in man. And Joseph remained after this in the prison house 2 years, until he completed 12 years. Now remember, and that's the end of the reading for today, but they also did not put this part in there. So all this time that Joseph was getting in trouble, he always cried out to Yah, and Yah always answered him and sent him the help he needed. But this particular time, he told the butler, he said, Listen, we go in there, tell the king about me. Come and get me out of this place. Everything you heard about me was a lie. I didn't do this. He said, okay, when I go, I'll make sure I mention you. I won't forget you. But the butler never gave Joseph another thought. And it says right here, and I read it again. I just read 19 and 20, the last 2 verses again. Listen, pay attention, y'all. Pay attention. Because this still happens today with a lot of us, where we begin to put our trust in men and not Yahuwah alone. Everybody has to learn this. And the butler to whom Joseph had interpreted his dream forgot Joseph, and he did not mention him to the king as he had promised. For this thing was from Yahuwah, in order to punish Joseph, because he had trusted in man. And Joseph remained after this in the prison house 2 years, until he had completed 12 years. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was Genesis 40, 41, and 42. And we read Jasher 44 and 46. And remember, we skipped over 46 for the sake of time today. And I kind of gave you a quick overview about what it was. It was about Tamar and Judah. So I'll put that in there so you can read it, so you can do it on your own time. But I didn't just skip over it, you know. I really want you guys to read all the details of it, but just for the sake of time, I just told you about it because we read it yesterday, and there really wasn't that much of a difference with that story from what we already have in Genesis. That's why I chose to skip over that. All right, y'all. So today it is Thursday, December the 3rd, 2020, day 14 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count. Day 684, 684. Yes, we've been reading consecutively, except for on the Sabbath and on the Sabbath feast days where we're required to rest. That's why our count is not higher. We will be in the 700 count, which we will be there in a few days. Well, in a couple weeks, we'll be in a 700-day count. So we try and keep to y'all's word as much as possible. Practice it any way we can. We find out we're doing something wrong, we adjust it immediately, to be as close to keeping Yahuwah's commands as he commands us. And remember, Yahuwah's commands, like it says, they are not grievous. I think people teach it wrong. That, you trying to put us under the law? Like, okay, tell me exactly what about Yahuwah's law is wrong, or about his law is hard to keep. Like, some of these same things that is in Yahuwah's law, the government, the states have put these same things in place. It's definitely telling you how, one, to keep your life, and just how to be a decent human being, to treat everybody fairly, don't break into nobody. That's what Yahuwah's law states, right? We look at the Big Ten, the 10 Commandments. What about that is wrong? The first 4 commandments, not wrong, wrong, or what about that is hard to keep? If you're a person that, if you're an honorable person that is not out to harm people, and do what's right while you're living here in the land and live a quiet and peaceable life, you're going to automatically keep those. The first 4 is teaching us how to love Yah, and the last 6 is teaching us how to love our neighbor, and not to sin against them by lying on them, or lying period, or committing adultery, or stealing, or murdering, coveting your neighbor's stuff, all those things. Everybody should be able to keep those, so it kind of throws people off when you say that sometimes, simply because of the misteachings of Yahuwah's law. They teach it in a way where it's like, nobody can keep that. And really what they're talking about, they're trying to play on you with words, but they're really talking about like the sacrifices. Because if you try and tell them, wait a minute, hold on, ain't nothing about Yahuwah's law hard to keep. Nothing about his instructions on being a good, decent human being and doing what's right. Nothing about that is hard. Matter of fact, your own government, your city, your state, your laws, your school, wherever you go, they make you do those things. So there's punishment for you if you break those laws where you're harming others and harming their property, whatever. That's what it's about, y'all. But some people need nudgings to do what's right. Some people need reminders about what's the right thing to do, and that's why the law is there. It's there for the lawless. You think you'll do that? You might want to reconsider that, because if you do that, this is the consequence for doing that wrong thing. But nothing about Yahuwah's law or his instructions to us is grievous. Is really not. And people, turn it down for a second, please. We're about to end. And for people who doesn't know what Yahuwah's law says, they're the ones a lot of times arguing with you. Well, first of all, those who argue with you about Yahuwah's law, you can automatically tell that they have not read his law. They have not spent time just going through it, reading it word for word. Because nobody that goes through and read Yahuwah's law or his instructions word for word can say anything bad about it. Nothing. It keeps your life. It helps you keep your life. Matter of fact, it helps you to live an abundant life. When we actually started going back as a family doing this, I'm telling you, we have gotten to get more blessed now than we were before. I'm like, wait a minute. Why haven't we been taught this all along? Like, I hear y'all clearer in things. He's like, nope, don't do this. This is where you need to look. Like, instructions there is so much more clear. And those of you guys who actually begin to go back and keep his laws and read through it and with a pure heart, I'm worshiping only you. You put away all other gods and all other names from out your mouth, and you worship the creator of heaven and earth alone, the same God whom Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob worship. When we worship him and him alone, things tend to start working out for us. And we begin this, this road of understanding truth, and, Yahuwah, things just become clearer for us. And, we can walk with confidence, and we can speak to him knowing that he hears us and that he's going to answer us, So, oh, you're welcome, Trina. She said, thank you, Pam, for doing this. I wake up every day excited about reading. Girl, me too. I really do. And I be listening to it all day long, too. Okay, y'all. So, all right, let's go ahead and do the blessing, because the kids are up and we have to get started in our day. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6. The first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. And the blessing is found in the last few verses, starting at 22, all the way to the end of the chapter of verse 27. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 verses. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 verses. It was getting jumbled to me. I'm sorry. It's 6 verses. The blessing is the last 6 verses of chapter 6. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all bright and early in the morning